Hey, welcome to the Strong Roots podcast. My name is Kristen Hill, and we are so excited that you're tuning in today. Our prayer is that you would move one step closer to Jesus through this series. So go ahead and check out this next episode. Welcome back to the Strong Roots podcast. We are talking about how to apply your values, and I'm here with my favorite person on the planet, John Juro Hill. Hello. And he is also our pastor. He is the father of my kids. And today when talking about applying our values, I think in my life, he has taught me, especially because I had just given my life to Christ at the beginning of when we started having a relationship. He has been the catalyst for me applying the values of Christ to my own life. I see the way he does it with our family. And so I am very excited to learn from him today and for you to also have an opportunity to learn from him when it comes to applying our values. So John, thank you for being here today.
Yeah, my pleasure.
I really appreciate it. So John, I feel like this is a question you're going to enjoy. So what is the most, in your opinion, important factor in making decisions?
Well, first off, I think this is probably one of the more important podcasts that we've ever done. Like, I think that there's so much that stems from this. What our values, our real true values determine who we're actually going to become. And I think one of the big things to ask yourself is, what are the actual values that I live out? Not what do I say my values are, but like based on the way that we allocate the resource of our time, what are the values we're actually living out? And I think most people, like, there is a big dissonance, and all of us have been a part of a workplace that has, like, you know, this is our mission statement, this is our vision statement. They have it up on the wall, and like, you know that your life is nothing like that, you know, and you come home and you're like, that life stinks, it says this stuff. And then, like, I think we are such hypocrites because for so many of us, we claim to have these values that we don't live out at home. You know what I mean? And it's so easy, like, to be like, you know, we've all been in that bad meeting that just went on forever, and it's like, that boss is just the worst. And then that's exactly how we lead our kids. You know what I mean? And it's like, they don't know better, but like, we have no plan. We just have no plan. We have no vision. We have no values. And I mean, the first thing to do with values is to actually think, what are my current values? Because everybody has values. Even if you say you don't, you do. Like, for a lot of us, it's a fishing boat. For a lot of us, it's Instagram. For a lot of us, it's food, you know? And these are like the core values of our life. And I think that when you really synthesize based on how I allocate my resource and my passion and the things I think about and the things I look at Facebook Marketplace the most about, when you really like start writing down like top 5 real actual values, it is like a really sobering thing to do. You know, it doesn't take that long. It takes 5 minutes. You know, if you're in your car right now listening to this or whatever, take 5 minutes and really think, what are my actual 5 values? Because for me, it's one of those things, after I'm done, sometimes, like in seasons of my life, I got to go take a shower and cry for a little bit because it's like, what is wrong? Like, I'm 36 and like my core value is shopping for 20-year-old jet skis on Facebook Marketplace that cost $200 and don't run. And it's like, what am I doing? I have 4 kids. I'll never get this time back again. And like literally, I'm more excited about watching Cletus McFarland's YouTube channel than I am about engaging with my son. You know, like this stuff is just, and I think about these actual values, like what am I doing? What are my actual lived values? And then what are my goal ideal values? And I think like looking at those two lists, like what do I actually live and what do I actually want to be? And then asking yourself the question, what can I do to create bridges between these two things? You know what I mean? And like, you don't have to be like, well, I'm terrible because I'm not living any of our core values, because a lot of us aren't. You know, but the bigger thing is, what can I do to move at least one segment of my life in the modicum of the next 4 hours closer to one of these values? And it's just one little thing. It's just one little thing, you know. But it's so amazing to me how like just small things can make a big difference. I was reading this thing the other day, you know, and this psychologist, she talked about counseling people, and she had this guy who was very obese, and he lost his vision from the kind of diabetes you get, like you're not born with it. It's the kind you get from unhealthy choices. And he's like, I'll never get out of this. And I lost my driver's license because I can't see and whatever. And she said, can you just do one thing? And so he stopped drinking regular pop. He switched to diet. And all of a sudden he felt way healthier, started losing weight, and then he made some other changes. He bought an exercise bike at a garage sale, and while he's watching his favorite show at night, he would ride that exercise bike. And all of a sudden, this guy had his life transformed. He got his license back, and it was all because he looked at his real values, and he said, and when you look at the values that you want, you look at your real values, a lot of times it's just so intimidating, like, oh, I could never, I can't, but if you look at what you want to be and you say, what's one little teeny tiny bridge that I can build to these things? Like, I just think it starts with one little teeny step. Anyway, sorry, I went way off. What was your next question?
So I don't know if this is going to put you on the spot. So you're challenge them to what you were saying to sum that up is what would other people almost looking outside into your life say your five? What are your actual 5 values? What do you want your 5 values to be?
Yeah.
What would you say are your top 5 values that you want to, like, at your 80th birthday party, you'd say, man, John was these 5 things.
I think most people who would look at my life, and I would agree with this based on the way I allocate my time, like I want to store up treasure in heaven. Like, and I think the way that, we host people, we want to see people find the love of Jesus with their life. Like, I think that's definitely there. One thing that concerns me a lot is an obsession with silly toys that I'm never going to buy or that I have. Sometimes I just feel like I value time at the lake more than I value the purpose of the time at the lake. You know what I mean? Like, we go to the lake because we want to enjoy our children and each other. We don't go to the lake so that I can water ski. Ultimately, like, I enjoy that. I'm not saying that's bad. But, it's like I get the gas and weed whip and da-da-da and all these other things. And, like, I'm really excited about those things. I just want to make sure that I put my heart in the right place, before I go. And that's something that I have to manage. And I think people from the outside, like everybody who knows me, everybody who talks with me, and the first thing I do is I talk about how many gallons of gas I burned at the lake this summer in the boats. You know what I mean? Like, that's my thing. Like, I love talking about it. And I think always, like, it's just a gut check, like, do I remember the real value behind all this? The real reason we did all this. As a pastor's family, it turns out that, we've got 6 of us, and the cheapest thing we can do to really love our kids and to sow the gospel into our kids and have events all summer that we can afford to do is a boat. Boat's pretty inexpensive. Everybody says it stands for bust out another $1,000. My boat has been, like, relatively inexpensive, in part because I have friends who help me maintain it, and in part because it's just been very reliable. But, like, we have a lot of days on the lake because of that, and the purpose isn't the boat. The purpose is loving my kids and sowing the gospel in their hearts and, like, just remembering what the value is behind the activity, because a lot of times we forget it. Too long-winded, probably, but anyway, here we are.
But I want your 5 values that are the most important to you.
Oh, I don't have 5. It's store up treasure in heaven, and in the microcosm of my family, it's have my kids spend eternity with me in the presence of Jesus, and have them live purpose-oriented life. So, like, as a pastor, career-wise, whatever, like, I want to use my career, whether it was secular or church, I want to store up treasure in heaven. So, converting the resources into kingdom stuff, like giving to missions, all that, like building a church that loves Jesus, or if it was a secular organization, building a secular organization where Jesus' name is talked about, like, huge deal. And then, additionally, at home, have my kids love Jesus. And, that's it. Like, it's pretty simple.
Yeah.
And, like, this pervades everything. Like, our church runs this organization called Upwards, and I'm not, like, necessarily anti-sports, but I am anti-sports if they ever get in the way of seeing our kids love Jesus.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, if sports interfere with Sunday, like, that's just a no-go. And that's not because I'm a pastor. I think that's just like, hey, this is the priority. We've talked about how church impacts our life on so many other levels, but, like, it's just a no-go. Like, I follow Jesus. I'm going to be a part of his people, and I will not give up meeting together. That's a core value that we have. It's just a no-brainer. I think additionally, like, Kristen and I both were very heavily involved in sports, and, she in particular was a stellar athlete, and I was fine. But I think that, when our dads coach teams and, our dads, I would have much rather just spent that time with my mom and dad.
Right.
You know what I mean? Than doing those things. And I think as parents, we have to think, what are our real values? Like, why are we doing this? Because we want to have our kids be confident. We want to have them learn to interact with people. We want to have them have great relationships. And it's like, wouldn't it be a more efficient allocation of time rather than sitting, like, on a lunch table watching our kids dribble a ball while we kind of scroll on our phone talking with people that we barely know? Like, wouldn't it be a better allocation of time to say, I am going to play basketball with you in our backyard? You know what I mean? Like, with siblings. Like, my kids don't need more social interaction. We have almost all of a basketball team just in our 4 kids. You know what I mean? We only need one more. And it's good. Like, that's good. And I just think your values will dictate those choices. And all the time, you keep going back to the why. Not because everyone else is doing it, not because whatever, but like, really, why am I doing this? What is my goal? My goal is to see my kids love Jesus. My goal is not to have my kids be in the NBA. You know what I mean? Like, that's not my goal. They're never going to be. I mean, they could be because of your genes, because you're a stud athlete. Kristen, you guys, she beats me in running. She beats me in basketball. Like, she is such an athlete. This woman is a vicious competitor, and don't ever think that she's sweet. Anyway, go on.
I don't think I'm sweet. I have a really good question.
Yeah.
And it's coming from the heart, so bear with my wording. But you interact with a lot of Christians.
Mm-hmm.
You're a pastor of a church.
Mm-hmm.
What is a value that you see Christians putting at the forefront that probably shouldn't even be a value that they're putting at the top at all? Does that make sense? Like,
yeah, I mean, the biggest one is I think, there's a couple, but like activities.
Yeah.
Like, why do we do these things? You know what I mean? Like, really, why? What do our kids really want? Mm-hmm. And like, my kids, like, I don't have any friends left from high school. None. Like, I never, ever talk with them, ever. And like, I spent so much time with them.
Right. And
they were great, but like, family is a lot longer. Like, I'm going to interact with them specifically. And then I think it's easy to get an overemphasis on family, because I think in the same way, like, in heaven, my relationship with everybody will be more complete and deeper than my relationship with you. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, everybody, my marriage on earth will be terrible compared to my relationship with everybody in heaven. Kristen and I have a great marriage, right? And so, like, just remembering, like, later is longer, eternity is longer. Like, I want to point people to Jesus and prepare people for that place. I think that's really great. And Jesus talks, like, literally about, like bringing people to heaven with you, so that, you'll have great relationships in heaven. Like, that's a deal. So anyway, yeah.
Right. You got one for me?
Yeah. I mean, I think the big thing, because you are so good, and what's amazing is, like, she had no idea how to live a life with values when we met. She was just flying by the seat of her pants. But I started talking about this and values, and like, she is better about bringing vision to our day-to-day interactions than I am. And give me some examples, some tangible examples of things that you do to bring purpose to having people over for dinner, or to like going to the lake. What are things that you do for our family, for our kids?
I think I give them the why before we even go. So whether it's having people over, we just had a life group over last night. So before all the ladies came over, I was talking to the kids like, hey, we're going to have people over. Our goal is to get them to move one step closer to Jesus. Yep. Can we please pray that we can do that? And now our oldest, Izzy, actually led the prayer. And she literally said, like, God, I hope as they walk out these doors that they love you more. And everything we do, a question that we try to ask each other is, what's the purpose? Like, what's the vision? Like, literally, we'll be going to get pizza. We'll be going to a friend's house. We'll be going to, what else do we do? The cabin. And it's like, what is the vision for this day to advance God's kingdom?
And she literally asks that.
I do.
Like, asks the kids, asks us, like, what is the vision? What are we doing today? And it's such a centering thing. And it's such a simple thing. And people ask us all the time, well, doesn't that make your relationships inauthentic? And it's like, no, that makes them so much more authentic. What are the greatest bonds on earth? They always say foxhole buddies, right? People who have faced combat together. Why? Because you had this amazing shared purpose. Well, is that inauthentic because we were just in the army together and we weren't really, it's not that we liked each other. It's just we were in a foxhole taking firefighting, enemies of America. And it's like, no, like, those are the most authentic friendships. We had this shared purpose. And I think because you do that, our relationship with each other and our kids has it brings such a deeper level of intimacy. Like, we know each other. We're seen by each other. You know what I mean? Because we both, like, when we have this shared purpose, like, we see each other immediately before it begins. And all like, our interactions are synchronized really well because we're both working towards a shared goal,
And to just piggyback off of that, we share wins and we share losses, not only with each other, but with the kids. If we're praying that I can show someone Jesus' love, and then I walk through the door and all the kids start running and they're like, Mommy, did they give their life to Jesus? Or Mommy, how did it go? Like, they are genuinely just as excited for the win or the loss. Or like, not that it's always a loss, but this is what God did in this moment. And you're saying about foxhole buddies, like, we share our wins and we share our losses. And it's really bonding.
Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously you can see that Kristen and I are passionate about this, but I really, really want to encourage you. I mean, talk to your family before you start doing activities. Talk to your spouse. If you and your spouse are both Christians, talk to them about what is the vision of this. If you're a single person,
Right.
talk to yourself, like, what is my vision? Or if you're a Christian and your spouse isn't, like, think, what is my purpose in this? It just makes your day so much better. You know, I mean, even mundane things, like I'll ask myself, like, hey, I'm washing dishes, you know, but I'm showing my daughters that a man can serve. And I'll actually think that in the moment. Then all of a sudden, like, there's importance. Like, I'm doing this, I'm helping out the family, I'm showing my daughters how to pick a husband, you know, because I want to do that. And it makes everything so much easier.
And I think it helps you eliminate things you shouldn't be doing.
Oh, yeah, all the time. All the time.
If there's not a good why.
Yep.
But that was exceptional.
Yeah, we're out of time.
Yes, we are out of time. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope that you will have a conversation, like Pastor John said, with your spouse, with your family, and start asking that critical question, why are we doing this? What is the vision for this? And when Jesus is at the center, I really believe that it'll transform your days on earth and bring heaven down to earth.
Yep.
Thank you so much again, and we cannot wait to catch you next time. Bye. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to follow us on our other social media platforms. We don't want you to miss out on any future content. Thank you so much again, guys. I hope you have a great day. And I want you to know I am personally praying that your roots stay strong.